So the new MacBook Airs with the M3 inside are here. And I will probably make a video more focused towards the 15-inch MacBook Air, but I mainly want to talk about the 13-inch MacBook Air today because, believe it or not, it's the most popular model that is sold. But for those of you who want kind of that technical kind of review, well, spoiler alert, here is a MacBook Air review in around about 60 seconds. So it's practically the same chip what you get inside the M3 MacBook Pro, Geekbench scores, Blender, Wi-Fi 6E speeds, and every other benchmark that YouTubers throw at it. You're going to get the same sort of speed. We all know it's going to throttle if you push benchmarking too far, if you use pro apps and slow down. You know, were we expecting anything different here? And if you don't want that kind of throttling, then get yourself a MacBook Pro with the M3 inside, because the MacBook Air has no fan inside of it. And we all know the obvious that Macs, tech, videos out there are all going to show this, and it's all going to be really obvious if you watch YouTube videos like that, so that's why I've just saved you all the effort here. In a nutshell, I've saved you from watching another YouTube video. Well, at this stage then, you're probably wondering, well, what's the point in the rest of this video, Matt? Why is it, if you look down the bottom right now, we're not even a quarter of the way into this video. What kind of rubbish, trash, crap have you got lined up for us this time? Well, the obvious thing I want to point out to you is this thing here. This here, I'm trying not to get so much light glare on it, is the M1 MacBook Air. And you're going to be surprised at how much I picked this up for. If I do my conversions and whatever, I actually picked this up for $450 US end of last month. I picked this up in February time. And here is where I've got my beef here with it. I'm not a vegetarian or vegan, by the way. This is where I got my beef, is that I could pick this up for $450, and yet this one here cost me $1,100, and yet what are the main differences between both these machines? Should you even be picking this machine, or should you pick yourself one of these instead, especially that you can get them so cheap now? I forgot to also say that this M1 MacBook Air also still has another month or so warranty left on it. Was awesome. To me, what I find crazy about, say, this 13-inch MacBook Air here is that if you decide to get the 10-core GPU option, as you can see right here, it'll cost you $100 more. And then if you pay, say, another $100 again, well, you can pick up the 15-inch model. That's a very nice trick from Apple there, isn't it? But going back and sticking to the point of this video, what we've got right here, like I said, you can pick up these MacBook Airs for around about $500 if you go on Craigslist, eBay and things like this, and some of them you get warranty. Like I've got still like another month's warranty on this model here, or just over a month and a half sort of warranty on that, and you can pick them up that cheap. And the thing I want to know is that obviously I can get this for less than half the price of one of these, and yet what am I losing out on this compared to this? So let's explore. Now, I'm showing you Geekbench here, and I promise you I'm not going to do full-on benchmarks because I've said that. But the main thing what we want to take away here, looking at this chart here, is that the M1 has a single core score of 2,346 and a multi-core score of 8,301. Then the M3 MacBook Air has a single core score of 3,061 and the multi-core score is 11,566. Now, the main reason why I'm showing you this chart, in single core performance, the M1 is about 28% faster, and then for multi-core, the actual M3 is about 70% faster than what we got with the M1. Now, right away, you might be going, wow, that's quite a lot, 70%. Well, to be deadly honest, it's not. As you can see here, Apple claim that the M3 MacBook Air is 1.6 times faster than the M1, and to be fair, that claim is about correct. In fact, as we just saw for Geekbench, the multi-core score is more like about 1.7 times faster. But back to the title of this video, don't be fooled by Apple. In the good old days, if we go back even say to 2018 with the MacBook Air, and then fast forward even just 2 years to the M1 MacBook Air, we got a far higher percentage. Like I said, in the good old days, we used to get around about, say, 200% to 300% sort of increase on every generation. Well, the 2018 MacBook Air to the M1 MacBook Air, we actually saw around about a 500% increase in speed. You heard me right there, 5 times, not 1.6, 5 times in just 2 years. And it's the same thing that we've got here. just in the matter of, say, just under 4 years, I'd say about 3.5 years, we've only got about a 70% or 60% increase from this model to this model here. So it's not all hell blazing that you're going to get a super fast computer with buying this one compared to this one straight away. So like I said, don't be fooled by these speeds that Apple are showing you here in their advertisement. But you're probably wondering at this point, why am I banging on about this? Well, it's the main point why I want to talk about this video. At the end of the day, these MacBooks are designed for daily sort of tasks, and we want to see what the difference is in sort of daily tasks to see if the M1 is far slower than what we get with, say, the M3 MacBook Air today. And there's a 4-year or 3.5-year gap between both of these models. So then guys, just quickly, imagine that you could take this MacBook Air M3 anywhere you want to because it's so light and small. And also imagine that you could check your IT systems wherever you are on this brand new MacBook. With Pulseway, you can do exactly that on your brand new MacBook Air or even on, say, your iPhone. With real-time monitoring and auto-remediation, it means fewer surprises. So that means you can concentrate on your new MacBook Air M3 with all its new features and everything, and also at the same time you can know that you could just quickly have a quick glance to see how your other systems are doing at the same time. So if I were you, if you do get yourself a brand new MacBook anytime soon and you want to check out all your other systems, make sure you check out Pulseway right now. I'm giving my viewers, so you guys, a free trial and special savings too. So make sure you go to the link below in the description of this video. And with that guys, it's back to the main video. So, as I just said before, the Pulseway sort of sponsor we just had there, is the M1 so much slower than what we got with the M3 MacBook Air with doing sort of daily tasks? Now, straight away, just before you start commenting here, I will tell you this. Yes, of course, you can run Final Cut Pro on an M3 MacBook Air and also even on an M1 MacBook Air, and it will work. It will run. The only sort of problem you'll get is that after, say, about 30 minutes or so, it will start to get hot, that M1 or M3 chipset, and the actual machines will start to throttle. And you know, this is why we have the M3 MacBook Pro, because if you're going to do those kind of sort of pro apps like Premiere or say Photoshop or, you know, Final Cut Pro, Logic, you get the idea here. This is why we have that fan inside it of this entry-level Pro model. At the end of the day, it's called a MacBook Pro. It's for pro apps. So, you know, this is what it's mainly designed for. Just like these models here without hitting the screen, the same thing. You can actually run pro apps on them, but you are going to get some problems after a while. You're better off getting yourself a Pro MacBook instead. But let's check out then what these MacBook Airs are actually designed for, and let's do some of those tasks instead. So you can see here with web browsing here, I've got 10 tabs of Safari open on the M1 and also on the M3 model. And they do start to slow down around about this sort of stage here, about 10 tabs open. And you know, you do have to notice that it is starting to slow down around the stage. But for me, I really cannot see that having, say, 10 tabs open on an M1 to 10 tabs open on an M3, that I'm getting, you know, a faster speed out of the actual M3 MacBook Air. I'm not gaining much performance at all, if anything. Again, it's the same with using Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Office, you know, from Microsoft here. I'm not really seeing any difference. I'm not seeing any slowdown on the M1 compared to the M3. They feel exactly the same. And the same with streaming apps too. Both of these models can, you know, watch streaming apps out there. I can watch the latest content, no problems at all. And to be honest, the sounds about the same on both models in my opinion. Now, I know what you're going to say here. Well, Matt, you know, you've only got the baseline model here. You've only got 8 gigabytes of RAM in both of them. If you had 16 gigabytes of RAM, you'd be able to open up more apps and you'd be able to do more with it. Well, you are right there, but I can't really see if I added an extra 8 gigabytes of RAM, made the 16 gigabytes of RAM in this M1, and also had 16 gigabytes of RAM in this M3, that, you know, that the M3 is going to pull away and do apps even faster than what the M1 model can do right now for daily tasks. There's just really not going to be much difference. You know, I might be able to open, say, 25 tabs on both of these machines, or maybe you might be able to open up 26 on the M3, who knows, compared to the M1, but really, that's going to be about it. You're really not going to see much difference there whatsoever. Now, Apple have claimed that there is also a party trick with the M3 MacBook Air, what's also coming to the M3 MacBook Pro too. And that is you can actually do dual displays with this, where you can't do that with an M1 stand or an M2 chipset, in the MacBook Airs and MacBook Pro with that, M1 and M2 inside of it. But there is a catch behind that, and that is you have to do this. You have to close down or close the lid of the actual MacBook Air, essentially making your MacBook Air into a Mac Mini. And the other thing what they don't tell you about is that you actually have to bring along a Bluetooth mouse, and you also need, like I've got here, a Bluetooth keyboard to work with this. Because at the end of the day, you'll be utilizing the 2 ports on the side of this MacBook Air to actually control both of those monitors. Now, before everyone starts jumping up and down and going, oh, Matt, you don't have to buy a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, you can buy one of these, a hub. Well, I tested this. I plugged in a hub into my MacBook Air and then put one of the displays into this hub at the same time. Also, I've got my wireless dongle here for my mouse and my other keyboard that I've got here. And you can guess what happened. Well, maybe you don't. And that is that only one monitor displayed and it just wouldn't actually work the other monitor. And that's my experience I got there. The second I took this back out, well, guess what? The monitor came alive again, the second monitor. I had to unplug it, replug it back in, and then it came alive. But yeah, that's a bit silly there that you've only got the choice there of, you have to buy Bluetooth accessories. You have to buy the likes of something like this, or you have to buy, Apple's Bluetooth keyboard. If I can even pick it up here with holding a hub at the same time. You've got to get one of them with your MacBook, Mac Mini, whatever you want to call it. So really, is it a big, amazing feature to have this on here? Not really, because you have to spend more money and you can't even utilize the screen. Like I said, you've turned your MacBook Air essentially into a Mac Mini with far less ports. Again, I think you see my point here. Apple have fooled us with that ability of using your M3 MacBook Air to use dual display. You're going to have to be very creative around it, and to be deadly honest here, I just don't see the point really in that. So for me, in actual usability of both of these MacBooks, there is really nothing in it whatsoever. They're both as good as each other for getting work done. But next of all, let's actually talk about the design of both of these models. So we did get this brand new design MacBook Air in 2022, but comparing both of these models that we have right here, on the M3 MacBook Air, we actually have a 13.6-inch display where we have a 13.3-inch display. So, that is a tiny amount. And the main reason why this is a 13.6 is because of this thing up here. The notch. That is the only reason why it's 0.3 of an inch bigger. It's just for that notch inside of it. But for actual screen sort of technology, both of them have the identical technology. This is the same Retina display that we got in MacBook Pros back in 2012, I think it was. And this has come along now, and we've got it here, 60 Hz displays. We have no ProMotion, and we also have no 120 Hz, 60 Hz on both of them. So again, the kind of sort of technology that we have in both of these screens is identical. There's going to be no differences there. And just in case you wanted to know, for weight-wise, the M1 model that we have right here weighs 1.3 kilograms, whereas this model here weighs 1.25 kilograms. That is 50 grams different. Now you're going to go, oh, straight away, 50 grams. Oh, that's way lighter. Not really. If you've got an iPhone right now, let's say you've got an iPhone 14 Pro Max or an iPhone 15 Pro Max, and you have one of those tampered glasses on top of it, well, they weigh around about 20 to 25 grams, just that piece of glass. So imagine holding 2 of those in your hand, and you were holding this MacBook here. Well, you've got the same weight as this MacBook here. So that's just to show you in proportion how much weight difference. There really isn't any difference there whatsoever. The other thing to mention just very quickly here is that Apple have claimed here on the M3 model, and especially like with this midnight color, that they've got this new coating over it and it sort of gets rid of fingerprints, and it's doing a better job than the M2 model, but yeah, you can still see they're there. For keyboards and the actual touchpad, as you can see here, they're around about exactly the same size, and the actual keyboard layout is very similar that we have here. The only thing is obviously the M2 and the M3 model has full-size buttons at the top compared to the M1 model. Now for ports, there is a little bit of a difference here. Now both of these MacBooks do have USB-C ports, and the M1 MacBook Air actually has Thunderbolt 3 USB-C speeds inside of it, whereas with the brand new M3 MacBook Air, we actually have USB 4 and we also have Thunderbolt 4 speeds inside of that too. But realistically, guys, what I'm going to say here, these are not pro machines and you're probably not going to use them for pro usage. Most of you guys are going to be like studying or sitting at home or things like this. And the kind of sort of, USB pens that you're going to put in here are going to be standard sort of USB 3, USB 3.2 sort of dongles and things like this, thumb drives sticking inside of it. And both of them will read these at exactly the same speed if you just get a standard one of them. Only if you go and make your way out to go and buy yourself a Thunderbolt 4 USB stick or, hard drive instead, then yeah, you will see the difference there. And that is if you actually use an app, again, a pro app more likely, to fully utilize those speeds. But for just general standard users, you're not really going to see any differences whatsoever. The only other one big change is the MacBook Air obviously does have the MagSafe 3 port, and this is a great port to have, but the thing is though, it still means that we only have 2 USB-C ports, and with the M1 MacBook Air you do have to charge this by USB-C, but the second you take them off charge on both these models, so say you are going to university, college or whatever, and you're not plugging it in to charge, well, you're back to the same situation again. You've only got 2 USB-C ports that are both usable right there and then. So that is something to think about. Next of all is the sound on both of these MacBooks, and to be deadly honest, they both sound very, very similar. Apple claim that there's better, newer speakers inside the new design MacBook Air that we have here, but personally for me, my hearing, as far as I know, is absolutely fine. It got tested about a year ago. I cannot really hear the difference in sound, really. Both of them have got firing speakers coming up underneath here under the screen. I cannot see any differences here with the actual speakers and the sound quality for both of them. And for me, I think that just shows it right there and then. For this model here, where you can buy it for, less than half the price of this one here, you're not getting a MagSafe port, you're getting a tiny bit smaller of a screen, you're going to get Thunderbolt 3 instead of Thunderbolt 4. It's a big deal, really. I don't think it is. Really, I just cannot see why I would spend, say, $600 or $500 more for this when I could just get this one here. But then the next thing you're probably going to be asking me then, well, Matt, what about battery life? Especially if I'm going to buy one of these refurbed, or if I'm going to buy them off eBay or something like this, battery life surely is going to be worse on this than what we got on here. Well, you are correct there. And as you can see here on my M1 MacBook Air, I've got over 200 recharge clocks. But what I want to tell you about is something what Apple actually have told us, and that is that they say that when a MacBook has 1000 recharge clocks, it has essentially 80% of its original battery than what it would be at 100%. So let's say this MacBook had actually done 500 recharges. This basically means the battery is around about 90% of its original capacity. Now, both of these models, when they've come out brand new, both have claimed that they come with 18 hours of battery life. Now, obviously, let's say this had 500 clocks, like I said, that would essentially mean we'd get around about, say, 16.3 or 4 hours, I can't do the full maths here, instead of 18. And that is with 500 clocks. So really, again, $500 in it, you're going to get about an hour and a half less battery life than compared to a brand new one. Again, I'd be picking this model instead of this one. But really, that is it, to be deadly honest. So then, in conclusion, the new M3 MacBook Airs, they are great, they are fantastic. But then at the same time though, there is the big question of what's the point in buying one if you can buy, say, an M1 MacBook Air for around about $500, or to be deadly honest, Apple have even reduced the M2 MacBook Air down to $99 or $899 for education use, very similar to the model that we have right here, but you know, you can get them at refurb prices for around about $750. And now that the M3 model has come out, I reckon in the next month or two, that $750 for the M2 of this design here, you'll probably be able to pick that up for $700 or even $650 if you really want the new design. At the end of the day, no one's going to tell if you have an M3 or an M2 model because it's all in the hood, under the hood of the chip there by just looking at that. So again, you might as well just buy yourself one of them if you don't really want the old design. But I think you're getting my point here. I cannot see why you need to get yourself an M3 MacBook Air if you can get yourself an M1 MacBook Air, still with some of them with warranties and everything like that, and you can get them for less than half the price of one of these, and yet still probably get around about another 4 years support on this machine compared to getting, you know, about another 6 years support on this machine here, and yet you're saving half the amount of money. But there we go, guys. Those are my thoughts on the brand new M3 MacBook Air. I would love to know your thoughts too, so please do put them down in the comments below. And also at the same time, guys, it's time to wrap up this video. So if you have enjoyed watching it, please do press the like button. At the same time, you want to hear the latest Apple news, reviews or comparisons, please also make sure that you subscribe to this channel and also hit that notification bell. Until next time, guys, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.